Don't even try. It's going to take 2, 3, and maybe even 4 power plants to take home the prize here tonight. It's the kings of the sport, and they're next. Everybody, and welcome to the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. We bring you to the middle of the United States. It's Henry, Illinois. It's a big state fair that's going on here, but tonight it's all about the tractor pull, and it will be the E3 Spark Plugs Prairie State Challenge presented by K&N Filters. Hello everybody, I'm Ken Stout, and if it's horsepower you love, don't touch that dial, because the super mods are coming out. The multi-engine tractors, it's all about diversity. There's combinations there for everybody, but one common denominator is big-time horsepower. Of course, the goal is to drag that heavy sled out there across a full pull mark. Who knows where that might be? That will be determined by the officials after about 5 tractors. But one thing for sure, we have a full field here tonight, and everybody's gunning for that Pro Pulling League trophy. Now with more on tonight's event, let's go to my colleague, Leslie Mears.
A full field indeed, and a very diverse field as well. This class, pretty much anything goes as long as you keep it at 7,700 pounds. You can put any combination of automotive, aircraft, or industrial engines together. As long as you make the weight, you can pour that horsepower down the track. Let's send it down to Rob.
Tonight we're going to see the bad boys of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, the super modified tractors. We're talking about 8,000 horsepower. Now that sounds all fine and dandy. You got to spend $100,000 to $150,000 just to get one of these bad boys. Here tonight we're starting to see the moisture come back up through the dirt. We're going to be building some roads. It's cooling off here in beautiful Henry, Illinois. The stands are packed, and it's time to go pulling.
These tractors are certainly a fan favorite. They even enjoy watching them fire up these engines one at a time. It is quite a process. It's time now, before we kick our first puller off, to tell you about our rules of the pull.
Here are our Lucas Oil rules of the pull. Of course, our full pull mark will be set after 5 competitors have ran down the track. With this super modified tractor class, you're looking at right around 7,700 pounds. And you can use any combination of turbine, automotive, or industrial engines as long as you can keep it right around that 8,000 horsepower maximum. And of course, run 2 safety hitches and SFI specified roll cages.
Thanks a lot, Leslie. We'll get our first puller backed up and hooked to the sled. 4 spectacular-looking power plants for Sean Swearingen and the Joker. He typically had 3 on this tractor when he ran at the local level and even the national, but now with 4, he has to run the smaller blower.
Only 871 superchargers when you've got 4 of those big bad Hemis out there. And I tell you what, he has been on fire. Also got one of those brand new Joe Ader chassis for this 2008 season.
And he is flying. Talk about some wheel speed. Man, oh man, well past the 300-foot mark as well. Man, oh man, I didn't think he was going to stop at all.
Stays on that right sideline. Look at all that torque. It's just amazing. You see him turning those wheels, getting on the brakes a little bit as he's dragging it on out there. Man, those 4 Hemis just on fire.
We'll go on board here. Starts off nice and straight, and eventually towards the end, it wanders off to the left. I think he does touch the brake. Unfortunately for him, when you go out this hard, 355 feet, here comes a red flag from John Mears, telling him to stop right there. When you go out that hard and that fast, they will change the sled. So they'll tighten this thing up, possibly put a little more weight in it, and the next competitors will have to work just a little harder. Let's go back to Rob.
Well, guys, my dark horse here tonight was a pretty easy decision for me. We sat down for about a couple hours trying to figure out who I was going to take. I'm going to go with Tim Howell from Wilmington, Ohio. He's driving one of the Larry Roberts Arnell Carriers entries. Now, they brought 3 tractors here today. Tim's in the double down. He's the only one left that's running, so all the chips are in on the double down. I'm going with Tim Howell.
And the double down will run a little bit later. Right now, we're taking a look at Don Nelson with a Texas Bullwhip. Another great name here. He's out of Cat Springs, Texas.
One of our unique configurations, two 572 cubic inch Chevys with 1471 superchargers on them, and then that DT 466 that you're hearing whistling out there with three of those big bag turbos on it. Man, look at him take off.
A front end way up in the air, transferring a lot of weight, grenading one of those Chevys. He'll spend some money here tonight, and the distance 271.01. That is the new mark to beat as it stands right now.
Well, you can see he's got an awesome run going. Those Chevys are running clean back there. Not a lot of extra fuel coming out of the cylinders. He's got the DT 466, the boost pressure up. It's rocking and rolling down the track. He's got plenty of frame flex and torque. Front end carrying beautiful out there. And then it just goes kaput. It's all that action going on back there. I'm going to say it's a rod, maybe a fuel line back there that's causing all that problem.
Yeah, you can see the bottom end of the motor came away, and then, of course, the blower belt came off. A lot of people think the blower belts come off first, but it's usually another problem inside of the engine that causes the blower belt to break. And that one definitely had a problem. About $40,000 just like that down the drain.
Well, Don Nelson, what happened out there? It was a pretty big boom about mid-track.
We had a great run going, and the clutch on the right motor must have been letting go, and the motor was really turning a lot of RPM, and it just over-ribbed it and broke the belt and blew a rod out.
What do you guys have to do to get that thing fixed?
I'm not real sure. I hadn't even seen it yet, but it won't be an easy fix.
Now that's a pretty much take it out, put another one in type of fix. As we watch Bill Leishner back up his 3-turbine tractor, this one called the Dirt Challenger, and he actually has 2 of these things in competition here tonight.
We've got the Dirt Challenger, over 8,500 horsepower on these 3 T64s. And then he's got the Dirt Slinger, which we know he's been out on the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League circuit with forever. 2-time champion with that vehicle, running 4 Aries-powered motors there.
So 2 drastically different combinations. No doubt, I'm sure as a younger man, he watched what was all of our heroes and one Art Arfons come out with the turbine-powered tractors and thought, hey, man, I got to take a shot at this thing. And they do get quiet. In fact, sometimes they get quiet enough you can hear the rear tires just churning back there. 278.71, an all right distance there, but not what he was looking for here tonight. He will take the lead, though.
The flutter of the fender wells on takeoff there, the extra fuel being burnt, hitting the rev limiter on the center motor, turning too many RPMs there, shutting it off for a second, and then bringing it back to life as it powers its way down the track.
It was a spectacular looking run. The front end up there very nicely. Looked like he was transferring weight. For whatever reason, though, just didn't get quite as much as he would have hoped for here tonight. Let's go to Rob.
Well, Bill, you brought 2 tractors here today. Is there anything you learned from the turbine tractor here before you bring the next one out?
Yeah, we pulled here last night. I don't think this track's quite as good, but that first pass by the Joker, Swearingen make a half a pass. I think they made the sled pretty heavy. I got a center motor that's kind of dirty. Suck a little dirt in, you see that popping, that really hurts. You know, Lucas Oil's brought a lot of people on board, and there's a good show here. It's just a fantastic circuit, and just love to do this, and got a lot of good friends that help us get down the track.
Well, he'll have a lot of friends that are going to come out here in a moment and try to take that lead away, so stay with us. The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world. R&L Carriers, one call, one carrier. And by General Tire. Welcome back to Henry, Illinois for the E3 Spark Plugs Prairie State Challenge, presented by K&N Filters. This is the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, and you're watching the super modified tractors, the multi-engine competitors who show up, spend so much time and effort, as does everybody really in this National Touring Series. Tim Howe, the Double Down, and if I'm not mistaken, this was Mr. Rob Klepper's dark horse.
The unique pick, since only 2 of those 3 engines out there are actually running so that Tim Howe and the Double Down can meet the horsepower requirements of the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League.
Those horsepower requirements stand at 8,600 maximum. He doesn't want to go over that, and here we go. He's off. Oh, man, and he's on a ride. Hang on to her, baby. That's like an 8-second ride right there, man. He's in the wrong business. It looked more like a bull in this particular case. Not what he wanted to do here. So a tough night for Tim Howell, the double down.
Kind of like he was on a pogo stick there on those rear tires, just bouncing. And a lot of drivers will try to drive through that rear bounce, and if you can get it going far enough down the track, sometimes you can get out of it, but sometimes it just sticks with you like this, and he knows he's not going to be able to come out of it, so he just backs out of the throttle there and shuts her down.
Once again, we'll go on board. Sled thing coming almost completely off the ground in the back, and look at the sled hopping up and down. Tough night right there. That is definitely hard on the drive line. The Predator is up next, driven by Jamie Austin. And again, we'll go back to the 4 automotive-style power plants. He's backing up, just about hooked up to the sled. And once again, we'll check in with Rob.
Well, guys, talking to a lot of the drivers, the crew chiefs, and some of the PPL officials, this is really a driver's track here tonight. It's getting a little bit hard here in the Supermod class, and it's a driver's track, meaning that the guys with the piston engines, they can ease their way in. They can work this track. They can make that road. But the guys with the turbines, hey, when they lay it all on the line, that's all they got. Those tires start spinning. There's no stopping it. So it's a driver's track here tonight. It's going to be interesting to see if the piston guys can hold on and beat those turbines.
Well, as you can see, those are the pinch head styled engines. No Hemis on that one. Boy, all over the place, but trying to hang in there. 271.42 feet is the mark.
And this track really punishing these drivers. And what Rob's talking about there is actually walking it out, not getting all the way into the throttle until you get a little bit further down the track. But the Predator pours it on early, gets it going, has to hit the brakes and bring it back to center. Lots of steering and lots of wobbling going on there for the Predator.
That is good for second place in the stands right now. But Sean Swearingen is back with the Joker. We saw him at the top of the show. He came out, went 355 feet. But since then, they changed the sled. Of course, when they changed the sled, everybody has to pull again. And for him, he was allowed to drop back into the field wherever he would like to. But now, has come back out. We'll try to make another run at it.
And Swearingen going to have a definite advantage over his competitors. He's already been down this track once.
Enough, that's almost exactly what he did in the first pull as the tractor went off to his left originally, but of course went much further. He will take the lead though at 296.96.
A little extra fuel burning off earlier, but it cleans up. He drags it down the track to that left-hand side, brings it back with the brake, or tries to, and just doesn't have enough brake over there. Got too much horsepower pouring into the ground to bring it back.
Well, here comes one of the biggest characters in the business. Of course, that's his son, Brent Nation. But LD Nation is up behind the wheel. And if you want to have a good time, just spend about 5 minutes with that guy.
Boy, he is a hoot. And, you know, this is another guy who's got a lot of driving experience, not only with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League and truck and tractor pulling, but this is a guy who also ran alcohol dragsters. So he's been down the track at over 260 miles an hour and then comes out here and pilots almost 8,600 horsepower on these 3 T64 turbines on his machine he calls the Indian Outlaw. It's just amazing. You can see only 3 weights out there on the front, 300 pounds out there on the nose. That's why he's getting such good lift.
Oh, and he's going to get the lead by a half a foot. 296.96 was the previous lead. 296.41 is just enough to take over the mark.
And look at that, a great launch down the center of the track. He doesn't have to do a lot of steering with his brakes until he gets down there towards the end. Imagine, Ken, what his distance would be if he wasn't heading towards that left sideline over there and didn't really have to get after those brakes. Just amazing.
Well, we're sitting at the starting line. You guys had a pretty good pull, but talk about what happened at the starting line.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, down at the starting line, I'll tell you what, I was nervous there because when you get out there and you get your turn and you back up there, you want to make your pass on that. We started hydraulic and jets hard to start. We just couldn't get that one started. We kept messing with it. Pretty soon we got to go. Well, I felt good. I was worried.
297.41, pretty good. It's top spot right now, but towards the end of the run, it seemed to jerk to the left.
Yeah, it got going to the left a little bit there, and I had to get on the brake. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of good iron back there yet. So nobody knows. I hope it holds up. But you never know in this game.
When we come back, we're going to hook some of that iron up to the sled. Stay with us. Welcome back to Henry, Illinois, and the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League with E3 Spark Plugs Prairie State Challenge, presented by K&N Filters. We are watching the super modified tractors out here tonight. Justin Gallion is coming up next, and the tractor's called A Lot of Dirt.
And you can see with only 3 motors out there, he's got those big 1471 superchargers that he is allowed to run. Interesting configuration here, how he has that injector hat mounted on the motor. As he takes off, a great shot. Watch those red butterflies as they start to open up. Full throttle here, all the fuel getting poured down into those cylinders.
Edmond, Oklahoma, in the front of that one, twisting and turning. As he heads for the 300-foot mark, he'll lay up well short, though, at 264.7.
And he gets off to a great start. Walks it out of the hole, and then you see it, all that frame flex and that torque. Pouring over to that right-hand side, just making him go up and down. And as he bounces, it's going to really reduce his distance, just like hitting the brakes would do.
So a tough run there as we continue on in the super modified category. Next up will be Bob Jostock and Wild Child.
And you can see these motors sitting sideways or outboard, and then they're hooked together, crank to crank, and then into a gearbox that goes down into the drive shaft, back into the rear end. Just a little bit different way to set up your motors.
Of course, when you're hooked up crank to crank like that, if one of them goes dead, the other one is just going to turn it into pieces. Fortunately for him, that did not happen. 288.30. It's a great effort, but not enough to take the lead. It is good enough for third place, though.
He's got a nice, straight, narrow run going on and probably had his machine set up the best that he could. But here's the deal. Rob talked about it earlier. The track's getting a little bit harder, and it's harder to get that bite on those 30.5 tires back there. You see it's churning up a lot of that dirt on top, but it's not really settling in and give them the grab that they need to push out that extra distance to exceed into the lead.
Bam, just like that, that E3 spark plug transfer box smacks the front of the sled. You can also see all the blow-by coming out of the bottom of those power plants. Man, those things were working hard as we continue on. Another spectacular-looking tractor, and that's what the fans love about these things. When they pull out, they look great. Of course, we saw this guy before. He was inside of the turbine-powered machine. Now out here in the dirt slinger, Bill Leishner, who has won so many championships in this category with this tractor.
And it's a unique configuration as well. Most of the other multi-engine monsters are running Hemis. Bill Leishner prefers to run the Aries motors. He also does something a little bit different. He has his motor set up crank to crank, but he also utilizes something called reverse rotation, where you've got one set of motors spinning clockwise, one spinning counterclockwise. So on this particular run of this vehicle, you're not going to see that frame flex. It's going to give him a more straight and narrow, true run as you see the whole front end lift off the ground.
Oh, and he's lost one of those motors right there. That right front engine gave up on him. And it was a great call before. 238 will be the mark, but yeah, it's exactly right. With the counter-rotating power plants, of course, it takes some of that torque out of that chassis.
Well, you can see the blower belt goes down right there, the extra fuel being pushed out of that cylinder. That's what you're seeing, the smoke coming out of that front right motor, just pure raw fuel.
Only one plate on the front of that, too, as he was trying to get it hooked up. Stay with us. We'll have more Super Mods when we come back. The Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League has been brought to you by Super Clean. Not just clean, super clean. Jim Beam, the official spirit of racing. E3 spark plugs with new Diamond Fire technology. And by Team Lucas, taking your company's marketing to the finish line. We're in Henry, Illinois, with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League here at the E3 Spark Plugs Prairie State Challenge, presented by K&N Filters. Right now, the man that's on top is LD Nation and the Indian Outlaw with a mark of 297.41 feet. If you want to take the lead tonight, You've got to go just a little bit further. We saw Bob Jostock come out here, currently sitting in third place at 288.3. So Terry should have some good information to work with.
Well, this brothers team definitely has a lot of good information, and Terry kind of got an inside shot here at what's going on as he builds a lot of chassis for this particular class.
On board the sled, he's digging hard. A good effort right here. Oh, and Terry will not have enough. 289.1 feet is the mark for Terry Jostock. He does bump Bob down, want to take over third place, but he won't get the win here tonight.
Those big 30.5s dancing on top of the dirt instead of those big deep V's digging in and pushing that dirt in front of the pan back there. You can see this track really hardening up. A numbers game maybe tonight.
As you might imagine, there's a lot of things you have to have go right. You get everything working on one of these tractors, pulling the safety belts down tight just in case something were to go wrong. 8,000 horsepower up there. Anything's possible. Mr. Twister. Going for a ride. It pulled that motor down right at the very end, too. Never really got that momentum going that he wanted to get going, and that guy is cheering because he just won. That is LD Nation. Congratulations to him. We'll take another look at this run.
When you can see that front left motor that they were working on trying to slow down just a little bit, could never get cleaned up, lots of extra fuel being burned off, not getting the 2,000 horsepower out of that motor that he needs to pour into the track in order to make it out there and try to be competitive tonight.
And a tough ride for Scott Tenner, but this guy is very happy.
LD Nation, hey, congratulations. What a run, man. You guys put on a pretty good show. Nice job.
Yeah, I'll tell you what now, when you get in a bunch like that, I'll tell you what, there was 15 of us and any one of us could have won. And when you get a win like that, I'll tell you what, you got to celebrate.
Well, like you said, you were hanging out at the starting line, had hydraulic issues there, and then got that thing going, then it jerked to the left. It was a pretty impressive run.
Yeah, I'll tell you what now, I'm scared that old heap of mine wasn't going to get going. Pretty soon that thing, he plugged it in the wrong hole and he got it straightened out, got it started, good run, happy.
Well, you've been doing this for over 30 years. You got your son here, your grandson here. How special is it for you to get your second win here in the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League Tour?
Oh, it's really special. Anytime you can win with these guys, I'll tell you, everybody's got the right stuff out here, and if you can come out and win, I'll tell you what, it's just wonderful. I mean, you just celebrate for a long time because it may be a long time before you get another win. And I got to thank all the sponsors, especially I got to thank Lucas Oil. If it wasn't for the Lucas Oil racing team, we all wouldn't be here having this fun. I really appreciate Forrest Lucas.
Go have some fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Good time there as we take a look at the E3 Spark Plugs Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League point in the Super Modified Tractor. It is the Joker on top by just 2. Of course, it's the Indian Outlaw, driven by LD Nation, that closed the gap here tonight. He is also our General Tire hookup of the day.
A straight and narrow run for a crazy character back there. LD Nation getting it down with only 300 pounds on the front, lifting it right up off the ground.
And our Jim Beam fan favorite, that goes to the driver of the Texas Bullwhip, Don Nelson.
Unfortunately, some damage back there, but hey, those are the things that we as fans love to see out of these tractor pulls.
Big horsepower, big explosions, big time fun. Hope you had it as well. Thanks for joining us here at the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League. For Rob Klepper and Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. This has been a presentation of ESPN, a worldwide leader in sports.